Hey guys, welcome to week 3, day 3 of my Hypertrophy 1.0 program. You guys can download it in the description. Completely free, no strings attached. Anyways, today we're doing legs again, and I'm beginning it with the Smith machine back squats, as I've been doing with each day 3. And I really like the Smith machine back squat because I find that it's very, very easy to sink into the hole and really just engage the muscle that you want to engage without worrying too much about your balance and about all the little form techniques that you need to be involved in when you're doing something like a barbell back squat or more of a free weight back squat. So this is kind of like a good middle ground between a barbell back squat and then something like a machine back squat. I put this right in the middle. It's great for overload, but also great for gaining strength. So that's why I've been doing this program. I went up 10 pounds again. So I'm going to just try and hit that rep range, which I've been hitting, which is around like between 8 to 10. So I'm going to try and go for at least 8. I'm not going to lie, today was hard to step into the gym, but sometimes those are the days that really surprise you and you actually end up doing your very best. Sometimes, not all the time, but we'll see. I'm definitely going to try my best throughout this workout. I'm going to take my sets as intensely as I can. So even though I'm feeling a little bit out of it, I didn't want to show up today. We're still going to give it our all because now I'm here and I'm warmed up. I did like 5 warm-up sets, just really working my way into it. So hopefully it goes well. Let's see. Okay. That was definitely a good set. I don't think that I could have gotten another full rep, so I'll take it. I like to highlight something regarding the Smith machine, and that's that a lot of Smith machines don't go just vertically up and down. Like this one actually concaves a little bit inward when it's going down, so it's like at a slope. And I think that it's important to be facing in one direction or the other, depending on what you're trying to get out of it. For this, we're doing the squats. And in a squat, you're kind of pushing your hips back, so you're almost going backwards a little bit. So I like to be facing this way so that the bar path is aligned with how I'm squatting. I think that is just going to work with you. You'd rather have the equipment work with you than against you, in my opinion. Okay, last time we got 9 reps, so we're going to hit at least 9. I definitely think the 9 was appropriate. You know, you really hit your limit when after the set concludes, you're extremely lightheaded. For better or worse, I think that's a proxy that you put a lot of effort out, at least. I cannot stress having patience in between your squats. That's enough. Whenever I rush through my rest periods, debilitate, it completely like derails my whole set. That's something I'm trying to work on. Really giving certain movements the rest time that they deserve. Next up, I'm doing some dumbbell RDLs, and I actually decreased it by 10 pounds per dumbbell for this workout. Just because after reviewing the footage, I feel like I could have gone a little bit more depth and just worked on my form a little bit more. So that's what we're gonna do today. Also, hauling the dumbbells across the gym from the weight rack is kind of a pain in the ass. So I was like kind of relieved to choose the 100 dumbbells, but we're gonna be going for at least 10 repetitions per set in this lift. And the reason why I like to program this in after the Smith machine back squat is because the Smith machine back squat, especially how I'm doing it, it's very quad based. And then the dumbbell RDL is very hamstring and glute based. So it's just kind of like a nice packaging together to kind of get the whole lower part of the body. Something else that I'd like to talk about, which isn't directly related to this workout, but to programming and body part splits as a whole. If your goal is hypertrophy, so muscle growth, then you definitely want to be getting at least 2 times a week frequency per body part per week. And what that means is, like, say you train chest on Monday and you only do it on Monday, that would be a 1 time a week frequency because you're only doing 1 day a week. If you're doing Monday and Thursday, then that's a 2 times a week frequency. And we know that whenever you go from 1 time to 2 times a week frequency, you are going to be making way more gains. You're going to be causing so much more muscle growth. And the reason for that is if you train it only once, then you're pretty much recovered in 2 to 3 days. So that remaining like 4, 5, 3 days that you are resting, you are not causing a stimulus for adaptation, and thus you are just losing time. Versus if you were doing Monday then Thursday, and there's very little time that you're wasting and not actually growing from. So it's just a higher frequency is a more concurring stimulus for growth, and thus you'll be growing more of the time than not. Where this kind of goes awry is if you are having trouble with consistency. If you are skipping days, then you are lessening your frequency. So if you're running my program, the Hypertrophy 1.0, you have to be very, very consistent because it's a push-pull leg split, meaning that you have to be going 6 days a week, or else you are not going to be hitting that 2 times a week frequency at all, at least on one of the days. So say you miss Saturday's session, that's a leg day. And of course it doesn't have to be on Saturday, but you miss the 6th day, for instance, and that means that you are making that leg day only a 1 time or like 1.5 times frequency instead of a 2 times frequency. So try and be as consistent as you possibly can. Of course, there's 1 rest day in this program, and that's on day 7 of each week. So if you have to get like a rest day on Wednesday instead of at the end on Sunday, then just instead of skipping a day, push everything a little bit forward and then try and not do that next week. That would be the only way that you can get away with like kind of changing things up. Anyway, I just thought I'd run that past you guys just in case if you're running the program, make sure that you're really being consistent. Otherwise, I would choose a different program that may be like a upper lower 4 days a week or something that you can stick to easier.
Oop, that wasn't ideal, but oh well.
I may have been able to get one or two more, but again, I'm really focusing on that form side. So I think that my range of motion was a bit better. Again, I get really lightheaded. I gotta be careful with that. But anyway, I encourage all of you to find a hobby that is physically active that you love doing. It doesn't even have to be lifting. For me, I found lifting and I've loved it ever since I was 15, and it's something that keeps me active in perpetuity. I'll be doing this until the day I die. Um, as long as I don't get injured and I'm just physically unable. But just exercise as a whole is one of the best things that you can possibly do for not only your physical health, but also your mental health. So just try and find that physical hobby that you'd love to do. It could be running, it could be backpacking, it could be swimming, it could be, even something like skateboarding, which is something that I used to love to do, but I got injured and eventually decided that that would interfere with my lifting, and being injured and falling on pavement all the time isn't the best for me, but it is a physical hobby where it's just going to be so good for you on every front. I think that we're starting to realize that exercise is something that can even be like more powerful than SSRIs in some cases. So even more powerful than, I think it's over the counter prescription drugs, which are meant to help with things like depression and stuff. Exercise can help offset that even better. So, you don't have to be super into the gym. You can be into anything, but just try and find that hobby if you don't have it already. Okay, this time I'm gonna try and not pick them up like a dummy. That's how you injure yourself. That's a little better. If you're not stored like this after compound lift of squats, how are you doing it right? I don't know. I feel like throughout most of my lifting journey, I have not taken these lower body compound lifts seriously enough. And I'm sure you guys can see it, like my upper body is definitely more developed than my lower body. Now I'm paying the price. So now I'm trying to go pretty hard on the lower body compound lifts, because that's how you grow, guys. I mean, you gotta be putting in as much effort as you possibly can, or else your body isn't gonna adapt. It's not gonna have any reason to change. Next, I'm actually going up to 3 sets for the walking lunges. So I've decided to keep the weight the same because these have been very challenging after squats and deadlifts. So, this program naturally increases the sets that we do each week. And therefore, even though I'm not increasing the weight and probably not the reps, I'm still increasing the volume. So we're still going to be guaranteeing more growth. Okay. It's probably a good thing that I'm staying the same way because walking lunges have always been very, very, very brutal to me. In fact, I almost dread them more than squats and RDLs. I don't know, there's something about them. But it's often that the hard exercises can be the best ones. It's not always the case, but in this case, I think it's just what we need. Oh. I will say I've been here about an hour now, and that just concludes our 3rd exercise. So we're not really breaking any time records here. However, I do think that by taking my time with my sets and treating each set equally and giving it its own attention and not rushing through things or meandering through things and just being focused, I think it's gonna give me a lot of results long term. So even though I've been here for a long time, and I know like not all of you can be in the gym for as long as some other people can. Today I don't work, so I don't really have any plans until later. So I kind of have a little bit of extra time, so I'm not rushing, I'm just enjoying myself. Whenever you can do that, especially on legs, I think you should. All right, today we're upping the calf volume, the single leg dumbbell calf raise in particular, from 4 sets to 5 sets, so that our total weekly volume for calves goes up to 18 sets. So do 5 sets here, and then 4 sets of the seated, the soleus raise to finish off calves. Let's get into the first set. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is my favorite calf raise exercise. I love that you can do it anywhere. You don't even need a dumbbell.
You just need a ledge. What's beautiful about it is by doing single leg unilateral, you're lifting your whole body weight. So you don't need much external weight to make it challenging. If you're doing bilateral 2 legs, it'd be much easier, and you'd probably need something like a sitting calf raise machine or a heavier dumbbell. But this is perfect for me. I find that a lot of people tend to program their calves last, which I do too. However, they're so taxed by the end that they don't give their calves enough time and enough intensity to grow. In fact, they don't even give it enough volume. A lot of the times they'll just tack on like a few sets of calves at the very end. But you guys got to remember that calves are just another muscle in your body, so they should be trained the same way. And I have the same opinion on something like abs. A lot of people, they'll just kind of throw abs at the end of their workout, do a few sets of high reps, and then call it done. However, I think with calves and abs, you guys really need to be approaching it with the same mindset that you would like your chest or your quads or your back or your biceps or triceps, anything, where you're enacting progressive overload each and every workout. You're looking to improve. You're up in your sets. You're up in your weight. You're up in your reps. You're improving your form, improving your technique, giving it ample time in between sets. That's the name of the game. And in fact, I mean, I need a reminder of that all the time too. By the end of my workout, I just want to leave. And honestly, if I keep doing it that way, which I haven't recently, thank God, but if I continue, if I start doing it that way again, calves need to come first. Throwing a smaller muscle group like your calves or your abs or whatever in the beginning of your workout instead of the end isn't going to be the end of the world. In fact, it may even be better because these are muscle groups which are not going to tax the rest of your body, you know? Moving over here because this is a better ledge to hang on to. A little bit more stable. I think another reason why people don't give calves the attention that they deserve is because it's harder to get stronger at calves. You're not lifting a ton of weight. It's not super fun. You don't see progress all the time. It's one of those muscle groups where it's very slow to change and they're hard to grow. And that's like not very encouraging for people, you know? Okay, I'm just gonna keep the camera rolling because I don't intend to rest for too long. That's the thing with unilateral lifts. You know, one side of the body at a time is, while you're doing one side, the other side is theoretically resting. At least your muscular system is resting, your cardiovascular system not as much because you're still taxing that aspect. So really all I'm doing is letting my cardiovascular system rest at this point because my right calf is pretty much good to go. So, I mean, that is one benefit of unilateral training. The downside, in my mind, is you're doing double the amount of sets. So it really depends on the lift, whether you are ecstatic about it enough. This is 3. This is including my third set. So I got 2 more. I've decided that probably today I will not be recording my leg extensions or hamstring curls. And the reason for that is because the way that my gym is oriented is that those machines are right along the walkway. So to be able to record it, either people need to go through my shop, which I think is very inconsiderate to them, or they have to go around my camera, which is also pretty inconsiderate to them. And if I were to get it out of the way of people, then the shot is just all messed up. You can't even see what lift I'm doing. And this has just been a repeated issue. So I think I just won't be recording those, but I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna be doing 3 sets on each. And I'm gonna be going up at least 5 pounds on each exercise and really just sinking into it. If you guys really want to see those lifts, then maybe I can just record like the top set, or I could try and find a gym that is more appeasing to how I need the layout. However, I'll tell you right now, I mean, I'm not going to be skipping the exercises just because I can't record it. I'm here as a lifter first, an entertainer and educator second. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I would not be doing this if it were just for the purposes of recording. It wouldn't be worth it to me. It wouldn't be as fun for you guys either. And, you know, even though I do have like a degree and you know, I've had a passion for health and fitness since I was like 15, I don't have all the answers. And the field is constantly evolving, you know. No field stays stagnant forever, especially with modern advancements. Therefore, I mean, what I'm trying to say is if you guys see something I'm doing wrong, or if I say something wrong, please correct me and let me know, because I'm constantly here to improve. I mean, that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is so that I can become a better lifter. I can become more open-minded, or not become more open-minded, but because of my open-mindedness, learn more pertaining to this craft. And I'm thinking eventually I'll go outside the realm of just lifting, start recording other fitness and health endeavors. For instance, I have a morning routine that I do most days. I've been thinking about sharing with you all. It's a great way to get the day started. And honestly, if you start the day on the wrong foot, you start the day with a negative mindset, how are you going to show up to the gym? How are you going to show up for your friends? How are you going to show up for your family? It'll make everything so much harder. So I think that having a good morning routine, waking up on the right side of the bed, you know, all that stuff, is one of the most important things that you can do in your day. So, okay, that concludes our first calf exercise. Let's go and do the soleus raise, a seated calf raise, to finish off our calves. So with any seated calf raise variation, you are pretty much exclusively only going to be hitting the soleus of the calves. And the calves, if you don't know, comprise of the soleus muscle and then the gastrocnemius for full. So this is only hitting one out of the 2 muscles. However, I still like to program it in because I like to have variation. I think that if you're only doing the standing variation or only the seated one, you're probably going to be shortchanging yourself. It's like doing tricep exercises in different planes. Overhead is going to hit the long head more, while the other ones are going to hit it less, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad exercise. It just means that you may, it's better to have knowledge than to not have knowledge about it, I think. Especially if you're interested in it. I upped it by 10 pounds again. So it's something we're not going for like super high reps or anything. I'm just trying to keep the form under control and get all 4 sets with relative ease. That time I had the pad a little bit too high up on my femur, on my quads, and it felt super unnatural. It kind of hurt a little bit, so I'm gonna have to be careful and just put it over my knee, my patella, because it's about how the weight is stacked. You know what I mean? You wouldn't put a barbell all the way up here on your cervical spine because that could cause some serious damage to your spine, and therefore I shouldn't be putting the pad way far back where it just isn't going to make any sense. Right here's better. That feels a lot better. All right, we're just getting 8. 8 is probably like the low end of where I would want to be for calves. I think that 8 is kind of in that moderate rep range, that moderate repetition, where if I go lower, I'm getting into more like higher weight strength territory. And if I'm going higher, then we're getting more into like hypertrophy range. And then if we go even higher than that, like 15 to 20, it's more, of course, every single rep range can be hypertrophic, but I think that certain rep ranges lend themselves better to hypertrophy than others. Like if you're doing really low repetition sets for high weight, the amount of volume that you're getting from that is not going to be as high as if you were doing like a moderate repetition. And that's because to calculate volume, you do sets times reps times weight. And whatever the number is, that's how much volume you're pretty much lifting. And therefore, you need like a ton of sets in that lower repetition range in order to get the same amount of volume. And by the time you hit that number of sets, you're going to be so beat up and fatigued by the high weight that it's going to be hard to recover for the next session. Of course, you're going to be gaining a ton of strength too, which is the upside, but how long can you keep that up before you either hurt yourself or burn out? Probably not very long. And that's why if you're just going for muscle growth, I think the moderate rep range is probably ideal, because when you get into the higher rep range, then you have to do so many repetitions before you hit failure, and it's kind of hard to know when failure is, and that'll just increase the amount of time that it takes. So you have like 2 ends of the scale. High reps, which will be super fatiguing to hit that volume metric. Low reps, and then high reps where it's going to take so much time and it's going to be difficult to find that dose that you need. And then the moderate rep range, which I think is the sweet spot, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, where, you're not beating yourself up too much, and it's not difficult to find your higher end. It's right in that sweet spot where you're getting enough fatigue and enough stimulus for growth. However, I do think that calves should be within that like 8 to 15. It should definitely be like in that moderate rep range. it's not one of those movements that lends itself super well to lower reps, like, 5 to 8. God, I gotta stop talking during sets because I always lose my count. But I'll tell you, that set was good enough because my calves are like cramping right now. They're super pumped. You gotta love the pump in the gym. It's almost like, and I heard this on a podcast, so I can't take credit for it, but it's almost like a window into your future. You know what I mean? By getting a pump, you get to see how you may look in like a year or two if you continue, training properly, eating properly, recovering properly, sleeping properly, stuff like that. Like that is how you could look. And it's kind of fun to get a glimpse into the future like that, It's motivating to say the least, you know what I mean? Okay, what was that? 3? Got one more. And this is actually gonna be the last set that I record. Because like I said earlier, for the last 2 exercises, the quad extension and the hamstring curl, I'm not going to be recording those because of the nature of how they're oriented in the gym that I go to. And if you guys really want to see that, then I would totally be open to looking for another gym. The only reason why I go here is because they're super forgiving with the filming. They're totally about it. And it's cheap and it's near my house. That's all. And, of course, I think there's better gyms because certain gyms have the equipment that I want. This gym doesn't have all the equipment that I want. But after all, your body doesn't know like the difference between a hammer strength machine and an Arsenal machine, or like a light fitness machine, or, free weights or dumbbells, or it only knows tension. That's all it knows. And so choosing like one machine over the other, it's not going to make a huge impact in your training, provided that you're still going to failure and creating that tension, from one machine to the other. So I wouldn't put a huge amount of merit on exclusively like finding one machine. And that's why I'm okay with going to this gym versus a gym that has all the bells and whistles. You know what I mean? This one just suits my needs for now. Eventually, maybe I will want that pendulum squat that I've always wanted to try out, But right now, for this program, I'm totally fine. For next program, I'll probably be fine. But eventually, yeah. Okay, guys. That concludes week 3, day 3. Hope you guys enjoyed this session. I really hope that somebody's following along. That would be awesome to see, and I would love to see your progress. Anyway, have a good one. Stay tuned for tomorrow for week 3, day 4. Bye.